Hi teachers, I want to show you how to log into ClassKick and roster your students to you so that we always are asking students to log in through their BSD email versus using a code. The code that we've seen in the past, it's prompted for a sharing method. Sometimes it contains letters in capital locks, numbers in capital letters. It now will prompt students to a basic version, and then they won't be communicating with you who now has a pro version. So log in the upper right-hand corner under teacher. You're going to use students' BSD email addresses. So for yourself, go ahead and log in with Google at the top. Okay, so mine just already was set up, and I'm thinking yours is the same. Once you do that Google login, it's just ready to log you in quite quickly. You have a few tabs here on the left that you'll want to pay attention to. So we're currently in the assignments tab. You'll want to toggle down to rosters. If you'd like to make a new roster, technically from this upper right-hand corner, the green circle and the white plus allows you to create a new one. So you can title it whatever you'd like. Maybe you're only having one roster and it's for your homeroom students, so you might want to put your last name and so-and-so's homeroom. Or maybe you're making them based on content area because you have different students attending each of those. It's up to you. Go ahead and title it here. We have a different color that you can choose from if you wanted to color code it. As you get into adding students, you can use their, like I said, their BSD email to do this. And it does mean that, yes, you have to log in and register to roster every kid to your class. This isn't something that our LTAs are doing or something that is just automatically done. A few teachers have tried to have students get into a class assignment and work sort of backwards to see if that doesn't roster them to them, and it has caused some problems. So I would instead encourage you to create a roster using their BSD accounts. If you choose the basic method, you would enter their names, but you would have to almost have the email addresses. Let me actually go back to portfolio, because maybe this is the route we need. So these are showing many students, and I'm trying to think, these must be the students at lines where I am currently at. You can just go ahead and search that student's name, and then when you click on them, I don't want to do it permanently, but you could hit add selected. So you could hit multiple students, add selected, and then they would be well, I don't need that right now, of course. Great timing for that. You would just import or add that many students that way. I'm going to uncheck her so she doesn't come to me. So this step is slightly tedious, the first part of this, but once it's set up, it will be so much more important to just make things streamlined in the future. I just want to toggle over here real quick. You don't necessarily need to export grades. This is sort of reminds me of Seesaw, where you can disallow peer help. If you're using ClassKick and you want them to not see each other's, you could click this. Otherwise, just keep it as it is normally set. You could delete the roster too if you've made a mistake or that class has concluded. So I have done this a few times with some examples, and that's why they say new roster here. If you had multiple ones, you could just toggle between which one, but it becomes important when you go back to assignments. So when you are assigning or sharing an assignment with your students, for example, if I chose this one, I would just go to the share row. And if you wanted to share the assignment with your colleague, you could do that. But let's focus on this middle option. It says assign to students using that class code. This is what we've done in the past where, for example, this activity is given DVG8C8. I'm going to encourage you to tap on that to bring up this copy link option here. So once you've hit copy link, now it's copied to your clipboard. It is encouraged you take this link and put it in your daily schedule, in Schoology. I think it should also work in Seesaw, right? So any of those places. So we're using a hyperlink versus this huge code up here, because that will, again, take them to basics. See, it kind of even mentions it as a warning right there. So that's by using the Sharo. I'm going to go back to the assignment hub. The other way to do it would be these 3 vertical dots. You could click assign, and that's again where you want to determine which roster you want to use, or if it's just the one you only have ready to go, you click on it, and your students would be present below. And once they begin engaging in the activity, those thumbnails turn white from gray, and you can engage and see what they're doing live or afterwards if you're doing something asynchronously. If you wanted to change which roster you're assigning it to, you can do so from here. If you're engaged in the lesson and you have the screen up and a student is asking to get into it, you could go simply to this and click the copy link, share it in a quick messenger way. But again, just for the viewing purposes, maybe you didn't want to look at all of them at once. I only have a few students in my sample class. But if you had multiple slides, but we're only focused on the one at a time, taking kids through one step at a time, maybe you just have the thumbnail of the one slide at a time. There's a couple other ways you can do this. The grades high to low would only be important after you grade. So I'm going to take you back to home and remind you that today what we just looked through was how you roster your students. So taking a look at the roster tab, the green circle, new roster. All right. If we were to import from Google, this is where you'd have to almost have a Google Classroom, which we don't necessarily have. So notice how all of this is for Google Classroom. So I'm going to cancel out of this altogether. It's not going to be supportive of what we have. Instead, you're going to want to choose new roster. From there, you can then assign assignments to any or all of your rosters. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to a building coach. I'm just going to keep showing you this. Like if I wanted to do it to my fake yellow roster class, that's how that would be. And notice it's a different code. So same process, no matter what, you can change it to any roster you would like. All right, good luck.